Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to go over the top 6 rogue strategies you should consider for the October 2019 format. This is obviously leading into Nationals being at the end of this month. Make sure you guys go. It's going to be super fun, super awesome. Hope to see you guys there. And with that being said, we're going to talk about some of the rogue decks you can consider going into this event. I do think that I'm going to do this on a monthly basis now. The first time I did it was in September, and you guys really seem to like this kind of video. So I think I'll keep it up monthly, and this is going to be based off my opinions, going to be based off some of the previous formats, like previous tournaments we've seen, like Orlando, San Diego, things in the last few months. And we're going to go to it. Before we do, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all awesome Dragon Ball Super content that I post here. Looking for a Dragon Ball Super community to get in touch with, make sure to check out the Discord in the description below. Amazing group of people. If you'd like to help the channel out or get caught up on some competitive content, make sure to check out the Patreon in the description below. Really helps me out a lot, guys. And finally, if you'd like to purchase any of the decks that are in this video or any of the cards, make sure to use my link to TCG Player in the description below. All that stuff really helps me out a lot, guys. Really appreciate every single one of you that helps me out in what I do. That being said, we will get into this video. So first thing you're going to see, and I should actually preface with this, we're not going to be talking about Shenron, Toa, Janemba, or Broly, Yellow Broly BR. Those, in my opinion, are the top 4 dogs in the meta right now. And actually, the first leader you'll see here, the first deck we're going to talk about, is Universe 6 Kaba. I do feel like Broly has kind of kicked Kaba out of the top 4. I think Kaba's a little bit more rogue now. I mean, we see Broly U6, we see Broly Head of Mastery just kind of dominating these most recent events. And I feel like Kaba's a little bit on the back burner, but Kaba is definitely one of those aggro rogue picks you're going to want to take to an event. Now, it is a bit restrictive, and I do think that's one of the things that holds it back. You don't have all the side deck options in the world, but what you do have are things like really big control cards. Obviously you have Kefla Peak Perfection, one of my favorite cards in the game, honestly, because on defense, it's a super combo that taps your opponent's energy when you're awakened, because your leader triggers to draw a card when you tap one of your opponent's cards by a skill. I think that's really powerful. And one side deck option I think more people need to consider, especially for something like Janemba, is Sneak Attack Vegeta. Sneak Attack Vegeta is a Vegeta, obviously, so you can side it in this leader because it restricts you to only playing Kabas, not Kabas, it restricts you to playing Universe 6s and Vegetas. So with that being said, Sneak Attack Vegeta, great card to go up against Janemba, which is the notorious anti-rush deck. So obviously you're playing a rush type strategy, you're going to want a card that helps you beat that anti-rush deck, and Sneak Attack Vegeta can do that really well for you. But on top of that, I mean, Kaba being so aggressive, it's really great against things like Toa. You put out a super wide board, it's really hard for them to deal with. Their one God Strike per turn isn't going to really do much to you when you have multiple double strikers, multiple crits, things like that. And against all the Shenron that people are playing nowadays, Shenron Ramp, Shenron Gogeta, again, another great pick. You got to be a little bit watchful for the Purunga 3-drop that can just get rid of your entire board, but Kaba Universe 6 has some outplay to that. You can play Chompa the Trickster, you counterplay that in response to Purunga if you see it coming, you do that, and then your opponent's Purunga is going to fall flat because it needs to tap itself in order to be able to use its effect to get rid of the board. So make sure you do that, guys. That's a little bit of a tip for you to play against Universe 6 Kaba. I think it's been falling out of flavor a little bit, but with some of those tips and more people just experimenting with it, I think the deck can do very, very well. Next up, we're going to talk about Skilless. So Skilless, when I did the September video, Skilless had actually made several top cuts in a row. It was only like 1 or 2 slots here and there in top cuts, but actually the past few events, I think the past like 4 events, Skilless has not even made it into the top cut. But even with that being the case, I do think this is the type of deck that can reward a very strong pilot. So I did a Patreon article about this a few days ago. If you guys decide what you're going to play soon, very, very soon, you guys just keep sticking with it, testing it, and Skilless, I would say, is one of those decks. It'll reward you very, very well. Skilless just has all the things you want in a deck. It has good hand size. It has consistent draw power. It has the ability to put out a very wide board, a very cheap board. So obviously, the Adventure Begins Son Goku spams out 30Ks. Training Buddy Krillin spams out 20Ks. Training Buddy Krillin getting the -5s, also relevant against like U6, relevant against like Crisis Crusher, things like that. And again, you have that aggro. You have that aggro capability. So you're decent against Shenron. You're pretty good against Toa. You're also a very defensive deck yourself, so you have a decent shot against Universe 6. So, my opinion, Skilless, one of the decks you're definitely going to want to consider. Next up, King Vegeta, and this actually made top cut at Niagara. I think it was the deck's first top cut, if I'm not mistaken, and this deck is super cool. I mean, King Vegeta Dynasty It's a clunky card in a sense, but it's obviously necessary because you need it to awaken with the leader. But it's a +2, it draws 2 cards, and it puts a 20k body on the board. That's really what the basis of the deck is. Spamming threats, you know, like the vanilla Son Goku, that's 20k, or like the 2-drop 20k Caulifla. You're spamming 20k threats, so you are relatively aggressive against Shenron as well, and you're keeping energy up for defensive plays. You're keeping energy up for counterplay, keeping energy up for negates, whatever you need in a certain situation, or you can just create more threats. Like the leader putting out a free threat on the awakened side, coupled with energy to make more threats, pretty insane. One of the key plays of the deck is spamming out or playing the 20k Caulifla for free with the leader, playing the free Kale blocker, and then you can fuse for 3 energy into Kefla. So you draw upon fusion, and then you draw the 2 swings after that. So you draw 3, you do 2 ginormous pressuring swings, and then your leader can clean that up with a double strike afterwards. The leader is relatively aggressive, but also very controlling. I do like decks to give you those options, something you're going to want to consider for sure. Next up, we have Clash Coup. So Clash Coup red-green, one of the decks we've seen pretty consistently topping events, but only like 1 or 2 here. It actually ended up winning the Texas LCQ, which just shows the power of the deck. Again, you have options here. You have aggro options with, you know, aggressive Arrival. You have the potential to play things like Intensifying Power Trunks, Saiyan Kaba, Newfound Power Son Gohan. Then you have obviously your big top-end plays with Kaioken. You have tons and tons of counterplay options with like Kaioken Mach Speed, Vegeta the Cruel, Denial of Hope if you try to adjust it to a red leader. Preemptive Strike's also not too bad. I do think those are some key options for that deck. The leader being super consistent, you know, mill 2, pitch 1, draw 2, get rid of any dead card in your hand. Problem with the deck is you do run a ton of 10k combos, so you can't always take the rush super well. Like, you know, University X Kaba, Skilless, they can give you a little bit of a problem. But with that being said, like, you know, Arrival, it's a pretty insane keyword, honestly. Like, just being able to drop things like 20k double strikes for free and not have to overwhelm, because, you know, let's say the equivalent of Super Saiyan Blue Resonant Gogeta is Mass Saiyan Mysterious Warrior, just stats wise, 1 energy, 20k double strike. This one does not require you to get rid of your drop area. You drop it very efficiently by spamming your draw ones. You know, in Clash Coup specifically, you have the Krillin 1-drop that draws 1, combo it away later. That's a way to mitigate the neg of Arrival by comboing 2. Obviously, of course, if you have 2 Gogetas in your hand, you pay 1 to combo one of them. You have a red and green in your combo area, then you Arrival the other Gogeta. Whenever you're playing an Arrival deck like that, you always want to make sure you're doing it in the most efficient way possible. You don't want to be taking too much of a neg to Arrival because you're getting board presence, but at the same time, your hand is dwindling, so you're not going to be able to play defense. So you want to make sure you're doing that. Also, some Clash Coup lists I've seen, they're adopting the Kaioken Arrival. So that's the one from the King Vegeta structure deck. Pay a green, pay a red, put it into play. Take a life if your leader is a Saiyan, your life's 3 or less. It gains dual attack and double strike for duration of the turn. So that's really pressuring on a lot of decks. And they're also playing the 20k Piccolo SR from set 7 because you have a 20k Goku in play when you Arrival. You attack with it twice, put some pressure on your opponent. You kill it off with the Piccolo. You can either KO a battle card your opponent controls, or you can KO a 2-drop or less, make your opponent pitch 2 cards. So kind of a way the Clash Coup is adapting. Very interesting to see. You're going to want to consider it for sure. Next up, I don't know if I'll ever do a video like this talking about rogue decks and not bring up Vegeta Baby. You guys know, if you watch the channel, one of my favorite decks in the entire game. I really think that dropping the baby monkey is one of the most broken things you can do in this card game, but the only problem is it's not one of the most consistent things you can do in this card game. The deck does suffer from some consistency issues, but I think there are ways to mitigate that. You know, I think that leaning heavily into like the Dr. Mew Searcher that looks at top 3 as a Machine Mutant, I think that can help a lot. The deck has evolved now to be a Familial Bonds abuse deck. So basically what you're going to do is, you know, you're going to get your digging deeps into the drop area, typically by comboing them. You're going to bring it back for 2 energy with Familial Bonds. You may or may not play Dragon Balls to search for extra free pluses. You add those to your hand, you swing with the digging deep, that's +2 attacks, and then you go Union Absorb into your baby combo. That's a ton of pressure potentially on turn 2. You can do this all on turn 2 with your Awaken and end with the monkey on board. You know, the problem is it's not the most consistent thing, but like I said, you can go like turn 1, grab the Searcher, grab the Dr. Mew Searcher, grab whatever piece you're missing, do the whole combo. Very cool. Very strong deck too. I mean, it won an entire prelim, like about a 50-player prelim, so definitely something to consider for sure. Finally, guys, final rogue deck I want to talk about, something we haven't seen in quite a long time, and that's going to be Starter Broly BR, the green deck. Now this deck took a big hit when Cold Bloodlust went to 1 because in my opinion the deck does struggle with removal, but if you look at the format, there's not like a ton of removal for big boss monsters at least. So what we see is, you know, Shenron, they don't really have a way to deal with boss monsters. They also don't want to take the aggro of green Broly, so that's a plus. We also have things like Janemba. Janemba deals really well with small things in the form of Vegeta the Cruel, but they don't really deal with big boss monsters. A lot of lists are not playing Demon Sword Janemba. That's a big thing to note. Looking at the rest of the format, Towa will give you some problems because they do have Dimensional Banisher Fu in the main deck, but many lists only play 2 to 3 copies, so the final deck of the format being Broly BR, depending what variant you're playing against, like the Height of Mastery doesn't usually play removal, and then you have things like the U6 Broly variant that also doesn't really play removal either. So looking at the big 4 decks in the format, 3 of the 4 you don't have to worry about removal, which is actually really important. So you can even go to a mono green build, you can play Preemptive Strike, you can play more consistency cards that help you get the Broly chain going, and you'd be pretty smooth sailing from there. I think that this is the deck you take to an event where no one's expecting it, and you can do very, very well with it. But guys, overall, those are my opinions on the top 6 Rogue decks for the October 2019 format. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.